Level 1. Neighborhood Nobody. You're 24, on your knees in your own dead yard yanking a mower cord that won't catch. And in a few years you'll die alone in a jungle 8,000 miles from this lawn, with the Medal of Honor folded into a flag they hand your mother. Right now, though, you make $11 an hour at an auto parts counter, explaining to grown men which windshield wiper fits a Camry. $40 to your name and no plan bigger than Sunday. Next door, Marcus is power washing a leased BMW Pearl White, never seen a dirt road that he can't afford. Designer shades, a watch he won't shut up about, a garage of power tools still shrink-wrapped in their cases, in sandals, so the whole street can watch. He sees you sweating over the mower, strolls over, peels a 5 off a money clip and lets it fall in the grass by your knee. Do mine next, hero. Cash. His girlfriend laughs. You leave the bill in the dirt and pull the cord again. You don't say a word. What is there to say? 2 weeks later, there's a recruiter's table at the county fair and a dare you're too broke to turn down. You sign something you barely read. The man laughing at you now German car, louder mouth is going to be trapped in that same jungle one day, screaming your name across a burning field, praying you don't leave him behind. And the worst part? You're going to have to decide whether he's worth it. Level 2. Military Cadet. Drill Sergeant Pruitt is close enough that you can smell the Folgers on his breath, and he is screaming into your ear because you flinched when the bus door slammed behind you. You signed on a dare. Nobody told you the dare came with a man whose entire job is to find the exact place you're soft and press on it in front of 40 strangers. You are bad at this. Genuinely, historically bad. You can't fold a blanket so it passes inspection. You leave one loose thread on your collar one and Pruitt smokes you for it. Up, down, until your arms give out over a patch of Georgia clay that has personally watched 1,000 men quit, while the rest of the platoon eats a dinner you're now going to miss. Your boots are wrong. Your bunk is wrong. Back home you were a nobody, but at least you were a competent nobody. Here you're the worst version of yourself, discovered fresh every morning. And here's the thing you're not ready to admit out loud. You don't hate it. Because back home, being a nobody was a life sentence with no appeal. Here, everybody's a nobody. The senator's son and the kid who took this over county lockup get the same haircut, the same rubber eggs, the same man screaming in the same ear. Basic training might be the most honest place in America. Everybody starts out equally worthless. For the first time in your life, the scoreboard got reset to 0 for everyone at once. The only thing that scares you now is that they'll realize their mistake and ship you back to the lawn. Then comes range day. You've never really fired a rifle. Nobody in your house ever owned one. So you expect to be bad at this too, the way you've been bad at everything for 3 straight weeks. You settle into the dirt. You do exactly what they told you. Breathe out, wait, squeeze, don't pull. The rifle goes off and it surprises you the way they promised it should. Then it does it again and again. Downrange, 300 yards out, the same ragged hole keeps getting bigger in the same spot, because every round you send is going through the last one you sent. The instructor stops talking mid-sentence. He walks the line, stands behind you, watches you put 5 more through a space you could cover with a quarter. He doesn't say good job. He doesn't say your name. He pulls your target off the wire, holds it up to the whole platoon like a piece of evidence, and says 4 words. This, do this, last at everything they count. First at the one thing that turns out to matter. That night you lie in a bunk that's still wrong, and there's something in your chest that hasn't been there since before you knew Marcus's name. It doesn't have a word yet. It feels a little like being found. Years from now they'll pin a medal on this exact feeling and fold it into a flag, but tonight it's just the first thing that ever felt like yours. 2 days later a quiet officer with a clipboard finds you at chow. He doesn't yell. That's how you know he's more dangerous than the ones who do. He asks if you've ever thought about the advanced marksmanship program. You don't know what that is. You say yes anyway, because $40 and a $5 bill in the dirt taught you to walk through any door that opens. He writes 1 word next to your name, underlines it twice, walks off without telling you what it says. Level 3, Army Recruit. The word he underlined turned into orders, and the orders turned you into the one thing you never expected to be here. Watched. Being the guy nobody notices was miserable. Being the guy everybody's waiting to watch fail is worse. You feel it in the way conversation drops when your name shows up on a list above theirs. 3 weeks ago you couldn't fold a blanket. Now men who've shot since they were 8 are studying you like you cheated somehow. So you give them nothing to talk about. You learn wind. You learn breath. You learn to be still, really still. The kind of still where your own heartbeat becomes the loudest thing on the firing line. That's the part that unsettles the instructors, not the shooting. Anybody can be trained to shoot. It's how quiet you get in the half second before you do. One of them watches you hold a 9 count with your pulse slowing instead of speeding up, and he says something low to another instructor, not knowing you can hear. Guys like that don't come home to a pension. They wash out early or they're the last man standing while everybody else is already on the plane. That's the only 2 endings he gets. You file it away. You have no idea yet how exactly right he is. Then there's Ray's. Ray's is faster than you on the obstacle course by half a second, every single run. And he calls his own times out loud like he's anchoring SportsCenter. He's got a mouth and a way of saying second place. Again, that gets under your skin worse than anything Marcus ever managed. Nobody warns you about this part. At this stage, your worst enemy isn't the enemy. It's the guy in the next bunk who's exactly as hungry as you are. You start to hate him a little, which is why what happens next surprises even you. Night live fire. Real rounds, real tracers cutting orange lines a foot above your helmets. The whole platoon low crawling under wire while machine guns hammer a fixed line downrange. It's controlled. It's safe. Until it isn't. Ray's freezes. Not flinches freezes. The fast kid with the mouth locked up solid dead still in the open. Tracers skipping past his shoulder while the range officer screams over the loudspeaker to move, 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 and Ray's doesn't move a muscle. You don't decide anything. You just go. You crawl back into the lane you already cleared, grab the drag handle on the back of his vest, and haul him the last 30 feet by his webbing while he finds his legs halfway there and starts pulling his own weight. The whole thing takes maybe 20 seconds. It feels like a year off your life. At the end, you're both flat on your backs in the dirt, chests heaving, and you share a cigarette you don't even smoke, passing it back and forth just to give your shaking hands a job. He doesn't say thank you. He never runs his mouth at you again. That's the thank you. By morning, the whole company has heard how you went back into the wire for him. For the first time, being watched doesn't feel like waiting to fail. Then command posts the list. First real infantry rotation. Overseas. Somewhere the tracers aren't on a fixed line and there's no tower keeping any of it safe. Your name is on it. Ray's name is right under yours. All that stillness you spent months learning. It's about to meet something that shoots back. Level 4. Infantry soldier. Nobody tells you that the first firefight sounds like the world tearing a bedsheet in half, over and over, 6 inches from your ear. The list became a plane. The plane became a tree line. And the stillness you were so proud of the 9 count, the slow heartbeat is worth nothing here, because here there is no line, no lane, no tower. There's just noise coming from 3 directions at once and men you know screaming words that aren't words. You do everything right. You get low. You find cover. You control your breathing. You return fire in short controlled bursts exactly the way they drilled into you. A man 20 feet to your left does everything right too. It doesn't matter. He's gone in the first 30 seconds and you never even see what took him. That's the lesson the range never taught you. Out here, doing everything right isn't the same as living. Sometimes it's just paperwork the universe hasn't filed yet. Then you take your first life. It's nothing like you pictured. It's not slow or cinematic. There's no music. A shape breaks from the far tree line and moves wrong, and your body does what 10,000 repetitions built it to do before your mind gets a vote. Squeeze. Don't pull. The shape drops. You're already scanning for the next one. It feels like nothing. That's the part nobody warns you about, that it feels like absolutely nothing at all. Right up until that night, folded into a hole in the ground, when it stops feeling like nothing and starts feeling like everything all at once, and your hands will not stop shaking. You press them flat against the dirt floor of the hole and wait for it to pass. It doesn't. Not for a long time. Maybe it never fully does. 2 days later, Ray's gets pinned. Enemy dug in on high ground, his squad trapped in a shallow ditch, rounds walking closer every time somebody lifts their head an inch. You don't wait for an order. You move along the low ground alone, flank wide, come up on the position from the side they aren't watching, and you clear it. All of it. You do it with the same quiet you had on the range, that 9 count calm, except now there are bodies at the end of the breath, and it settles over you like it was always yours. That's the thing that scares you, not the killing, the calm. When it's over, the squad looks at you differently. Somebody starts calling you the mailman because you always deliver, and because nobody is ever glad to see you coming up their walk. It's half a joke and half a warning, the kind of name you never get to pick for yourself. You pretend you don't hear it. You hear it. Back at the firebase, a letter is waiting from home. Marcus totaled the BMW, it says. Walked away without a scratch, and leased a Mercedes with a little chrome decal on the trunk that says blessed. The neighborhood thinks he's doing great. You read it twice and can't remember why that world ever felt real. Then a man in clean fatigues you've never seen before watches the after-action footage of you clearing that hill alone. He rewinds it, watches it again. Man moves like that on the ground, he says, to nobody in particular. You put him in the sky. You are terrified of heights. You just got volunteered to jump out of airplanes. Let me say one thing and then I will not bring it up again. A lot of you asked how I make this style of YouTube videos, so I gathered all my tactics for starting a channel like mine in this guide. If you want it, the link's below. Now let's get back to the video. Level 5. Airborne paratrooper. The wind at the open door of a C-130 doesn't sound like wind. It sounds like a living thing that wants you. And you are standing in its open mouth at 1,200 feet with 60 pounds of gear strapped to a body that would like to be anywhere else. A year ago, you were pushing a mower over dead grass. Now you're one man in a stick of jumpers, red light on, gloved hand on the static line, waiting for a bulb to turn green so you can throw yourself out of a perfectly functioning aircraft on purpose. And it is perfectly functioning. That's the part your body keeps bringing up. Nothing is wrong with this plane. The engines are fine. The pilot's fine. You are the only malfunction on board, and the fix is to leave. The calm that scared everyone on the range? Gone. Completely. Turns out it doesn't follow you to the door. Here's what they don't tell you about jump school. The whole thing, every run, every mock tower, every hour of landing drills is built around 2 seconds. The 2 seconds in the door when your entire body, every animal instinct you were born with, says no. Absolutely not. The one thing we were built to never do. The man in front of you meets those 2 seconds and loses. He locks up in the door, both hands white on the frame, and the jump master doesn't argue with him. There's no arguing at 1,200 feet with a full stick behind him. A boot in the small of the back settles the debate. The man is gone into the roar, whether he chose it or not. Then it's you. And you freeze too. 1 breath. That's all you get. 1-9 count while the wind tries to swallow you whole, and in it you think about your father, who stood in a door like this in a different war and stepped out anyway, and never once told you it was hard. You step out. For 9 seconds there is no war. The canopy cracks open above you and snaps you upright, and suddenly the whole world is silent and enormous and yours green to the horizon, the aircraft already a fading drone behind you. It is the most beautiful thing you have ever seen. Then the ground remembers you exist. This is no training drop onto a soft field. It's a live insertion, and the LZ is hot before your boots even touch it. Muzzle flashes in the tree line, rounds already reaching up for the canopies. You hit roll, slap the release, and come up firing before you're fully on your feet. You cut a path to the tree cover and hold it alone until the second stick lands and the platoon flows through the gap you made. The fear that owned you in the door is simply gone. You left it up there at 1,200 feet. You're not a man who's afraid of the door anymore. You're the man they send through it first. Later, packing your chute in the mud, you feel someone watching you. A man with no rank on his collar and an old scar that runs up under his ear. He's been standing there the whole time. He doesn't bother introducing himself. We don't recruit, he says. We select. He turns to go, then looks back at you over his shoulder. Selection starts Monday. It's the last door most men ever try. Level 6. Special Forces Operator. By day 4 of selection, you understand that the scarred man wasn't recruiting you. He was warning you. They don't break you by beating you. That's easy to fight. They break you by taking the sleep, the food, the time, the certainty, until land navigation at 3 a.m. through a swamp, under a rucksack that weighs about as much as a grown man who doesn't want to be carried, becomes a philosophical question. Why are you doing this? Who would even know if you sat down? The cadre never chase quitters. They idle the trucks with the heater running and a box of donuts on the hood because comfort quits more men than pain ever has. You don't get in the truck. Not because you're tougher than the men who do half of them are. You don't get in because you did the math the first night. You have nowhere to go back to. There's no version of the old life that isn't just Marcus's driveway and a $5 bill in the grass. Quitting isn't a rest for you. Quitting is a life sentence you already served once. So you're still standing when they read the final names. Yours is one of them. 12 men, 1 helicopter, a map with no friendly lines drawn on it anywhere. And the real job is nothing like you imagined. It isn't about shooting is what happens once the job's already gone wrong. The job is getting inserted where no one's supposed to be, doing something quiet, and being gone before anyone knows a boot touched the ground. Nobody warns you about the ride-in. That's the part that gets you, not the firefights, the ride. Sitting on the bare steel floor of a Huey with your legs hanging out over 1,000 feet of nothing, doing the math on a hot LZ, while across from you a 19-year-old door gunner works a stick of juicy car, fruit, and watches the horizon like he's on a city bus to a job he's mildly bored of. You never get used to it. Then comes the one that permanently changes the shape of you. A rescue insertion goes bad from the first second the LZ isn't cold, it's a trap, and a teammate takes rounds through both legs before you're even off the bird. The book says leave him, come back later, don't die for a body. You throw the book out the door. You get him up over your shoulders and you carry him 2 miles under fire to a secondary pickup, and the pilot, a man you'll never meet again, holds that bird in the open, taking hits 10 seconds longer than any sane person would, because he can see you coming through the smoke. You both live. Every one of you lives. After that, the team stops calling you the new guy. You have 11 brothers now, and for the first time the word means something real. On the flight back, nobody says much. A canteen just goes down the line and comes back to you, and that quiet is the closest thing to family you've ever had. Ray's isn't one of these brothers. Infantry doesn't feed into this. Last word you got, he made it home in one piece, which out here is the only happy ending anybody hands out. Which is the moment you understand the trap. You've got a family that never once mocked you, and any one of them, including you, is one bad LZ away from being the body somebody has to carry. Back at base, a general you'll never meet reads your file for 90 seconds. He says 4 words that quietly decide the rest of your life. Give him heavier weapons. Level 7. Commando. Give him heavier weapons, turns out to me all of them. You're carrying what used to take a whole fire team to carry the belt-fed machine gun, the spare barrels, 300 rounds wrapped across your chest like the world's worst bandolier. Enough firepower on one body that the supply sergeant signs it out with the same line every time. Try not to start a war right up until the first time he sees what you do with it and stops finding it funny. The mission that makes your name is simple on paper. A fortified position dug deep holding a valley your people need to pass through. A full enemy company sitting in it. Your team, outnumbered 10-1, needs to move, and moving means somebody has to make the far side of that valley too dangerous to shoot from. That somebody is you. You hold a flank alone that the plan said would take a platoon. The gun runs so hot the barrel glows dull orange, and you swap it out with your bare hands and burn them doing it and keep firing anyway. Every time they try to push, you're already there. You don't feel brave. You feel the 9 count stretched thin over a full hour. The range calm turned into something an entire enemy company mistakes for a whole unit. Your team moves. Every man lives. A story starts walking the base with your name on it. Here's what nobody warns you about becoming a legend. The new guys want photos with you like you're the Grand Canyon that happens to carry a machine gun. The mailman story reaches bases you've never set foot on, getting a little taller each time it's told. Command writes you into plans that don't close without a miracle because you keep supplying it, and it's easier than admitting the plan was bad. Slowly you stop being a man with a name and start being a solution, a thing they reach for when the math won't work. Nobody asks whether you sleep. You feel yourself thinning out into a tool with a reputation. Then a green lieutenant, 3 weeks in country, gives an order over the radio that would walk your entire squad single file straight into a kill box. A clean order. A textbook order. Buy the manual, and it will get every one of your brothers killed. You say no, on an open channel. In front of everyone listening. You do it your way, instead take the long route, hit the position from an angle the manual doesn't like, and every man on your team walks out. The lieutenant writes you up. Your colonel tears the write-up in half and pins something to your chest in the same week. That's the job now. Chewed out and decorated for the same act, and the only thing deciding which is whether the men you disobeyed lived. That colonel stops you on your way out, the torn write-up still in the trash behind him, asks if you know why he ripped it up. You don't. Because you bring your people home, he says. Keep doing that over there. You don't ask where over there is. You already know men like you don't get sent where it's easy. The better you got, the further into the fire they'd spend you. That was always the deal. Men like you don't come home to a parade, you come home so somebody else can. The orders come down that same night. One word printed across the top, Vietnam. And there's a letter waiting under it, from home. The draft numbers finally came up on your street. 2 of the neighborhood boys got the call. One of them is named Marcus. Level 8. Master Commando. The heat hits you before the door of the plane is even fully open. Not whether a wet hand pressed flat over your whole body. A heat that does not care even a little about your reputation. And it never lets go, not once, the entire time you're in country. Within a week, you've done everything the reputation promised. Helicopter assaults into landing zones that are already on fire. A jump into a hot valley where you're firing before the canopies finished collapsing off your shoulders, just like the man in clean fatigues promised. And the one they'll tell stories about for 20 years, your gunship taking a rocket and going down hard into the elephant grass, and you tearing both door guns off their mounts and firing them from your own 2 hands, one then the other, holding a whole tree line while the survivors crawl to cover. 2 guns built for a machine, worked by a man. You are exactly the monster they spent 4 years building. You fight whole units and walk out. The other soldiers watch you the way you once watched a range instructor pull a target off the wire, the thing that instructor predicted a lifetime ago. The strongest, most dangerous man in the war. But something's different now, and you feel it in a place the training never reached. The calm doesn't come back easy anymore. There used to be a 9 count, and then it was over. Now the count runs long after the shooting stops. You catch yourself still holding a breath an hour later, waiting to squeeze on something that isn't there. Then shrapnel opens your forearm on patrol, and everything changes. And it has nothing to do with the war. There's a village near the firebase. A woman there patches the wounds the medics are too swamped for the small ones, the kind that fester in this heat. Her name is Lan. She takes your arm in her hands and cleans it and stitches it closed. And she works a little yellow bomb into it from a battered tin she keeps in her apron marigold. She tells you, for the scar. She doesn't flinch. Not at the wound, not at you, not at the thing everyone else on this base sees when they look at you. She looks at you like you're a man, not a rumor with a body count. When she's done, you offer her a cigarette. She lights it off the little oil lamp on her table, hands it to you, then frowns at the way you're holding yours and moves your fingers like you're a boy who never learned the most dangerous man in the war. Corrected over a cigarette. You let her. Nobody's told you what to do in years, and you forgot how much you missed it. She says 2 words to you that night, slow and careful, the only English she is sure of. Come back. After that, it's what she says every time you leave for the firebase, the same 2 words. Every time, like a knot she ties in you so you can't drift too far. Come back. And something you were certain the war had burned all the way out flickers quietly back on. For a few weeks, you have a reason that isn't the mission. You come back every chance you get. And in the quiet those weeks by you, you finally see at villages that are targets on Tuesday and allies on Wednesday. No one who can tell you what winning even looks like. The most dangerous soldier in the war has quietly stopped believing in it. You're still unstoppable. You just don't know what for anymore. Then the war turns. The news is worse than anything, from home lines collapsing, positions falling, years of work coming apart in weeks. A briefing officer, gray with exhaustion, says the part out loud that the rest of them only think. We're not here to win anymore. We're here to leave. You found something worth losing at the exact moment the whole thing started to burn, and you can already smell the smoke coming down the valley. Level 9. Medal of Honor recipient. The smoke comes on a Thursday, and it isn't from your war. It's from your own side. A napalm strike called on the wrong grid, or the right grid on a day the map was already a lie you'll never know which. And knowing wouldn't change a thing. By the time you hear the jets and understand, you're already running toward the village. And running is not fast enough. Has never been fast enough. You reach the tree line too late. There's no flanking a thing that's already finished. The village is a black field. Lan is somewhere in it. And the most dangerous man in the war stands at the edge of the ash and cannot do one thing his hands were built for. You find her tin of marigold bomb in the ash. The little lid warped soft by the heat, the yellow inside cooked down to tar. It is the only piece of her the fire left you. Come back, she always said. You came back to this. You close the tin and put it in your chest pocket, and you don't cry the thing that would let you cry burned up in that field with her. You keep fighting. Not because you believe in the war, you buried that belief weeks before you buried her. You fight because grief left you no other language. You're more dangerous now than you've ever been, and completely hollow, and it turns out those are the same thing. Then the retreat reaches you, a collapsing landing zone at the edge of the jungle. The last birds coming in low and fast, too few of them. And a knot of green replacement stateside draftees funneled into the same crumbling sector as everyone else dropped into a lost war 3 weeks ago. just wanting to go home. The enemy is closing from every side. There's room on the helicopters for the men, or there's time to hold the line so the men can board. There is not enough for both. And there, in that knot of terrified replacements, white-knuckling a rifle he barely knows how to hold, is Marcus. Older, softer, the BMW and the $5 bill a whole lifetime and an ocean away. He sees you, and his face does something complicated because he knows you, the nobody from the lawn, the $40 man. And you are the only reason anyone at this LZ sees morning. You don't say one word about the driveway. It stopped mattering somewhere over the Pacific. You go to the downed gunship at the edge of the clearing and you take both door guns off their mounts. The twin guns. One in each hand, the weight of a machine carried by a man, the thing they'll put in every story about you. You grab Marcus by the collar and shove him at the open door. Go home, you tell him. Get on the bird. Then you turn around and become a wall. You hold the whole tree line by yourself. Both guns running, barrels glowing, the sound swallowing the valley whole, and behind you the last helicopters lift off heavy and alive. Every second you stay standing is one more man in the air. Marcus among them, staring down through the open door at the shrinking shape of a man he spent one whole afternoon mocking over a $5 bill in the grass. The first round catches you high in the chest. You keep firing. The second puts you on one knee, and still the guns don't stop. Then they do. You die alone in the jungle, exactly the way the instructor said men like you die the last one standing, everyone else already safe behind you. There's no one left to see it. That was always the deal. 6 weeks later, a flag-draped box comes home to a country that no longer knows what it thinks about this war. They give you the Medal of Honor, posthumous, for the men you held the line to save. Your mother takes the folded flag with hands that will not stop shaking, and 2 streets over a lawnmower drones on through the whole ceremony, because life is stupid and does not stop for anyone. At the cemetery, in a long white field of stones, Marcus comes to your grave. He's older now, quieter. A man who has spent every day since that LZ knowing exactly why he's still breathing. He stands over the marble a long time. Then he kneels down in front of your name the exact way you once knelt in your own yard while he stood over you, laughing, and let a $5 bill fall in the grass. He finally understands the thing he was too young and too loud to see on that lawn. That the ordinary man he treated like hired help was worth more than everything in his driveway and gave his whole life to send home the one man who mocked him. He doesn't say he's sorry. There's no one left to say it to. Then he stands, and he drives home in the car he could never really afford alive, breathing. In the world because the neighborhood nobody looked at him across a burning field and decided, God knows why, that he was worth it. If this story stayed with you, like and subscribe for more.